voters of color, in particular Hispanic voters. We're not seeing as much evidence.
We are live, guys.
Definitely Hispanic voters.
Live for the election. Donald Trump right now is in the lead. Yay. Donald Trump's in the lead. It's close, though.
So it is definitely a shift, and it is definitely one of the headlines that we're watching as we're seeing these exit polls come in.
I mean, we see that. I mean, the Latino vote is not just concentrated in the Southwest.
That's exactly right.
It's not just the Southeast. It's also in Pennsylvania. There's a huge Latino in Pennsylvania.
We have been talking about the ground game quite a bit.
I'll update.
Focused in Pennsylvania on trying to energize Latinos on both sides. Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump really focusing on that in places like Allentown, in places like Reading, Pennsylvania, trying to make sure that they are getting them out to vote and flipping them if necessary.
Let's not forget Kamala Harris wrapped up her campaign last night in Philadelphia, showing once again demonstrating the importance of that state, as we are going to find out here in the hours to come, and perhaps days.
And Hallie, you've got some more from your exit polls.
You know, it's interesting. Chuck's talking about the great school of research here. Thank you all for bearing with me. Chuck's talking about the realignment.
This is a very historic night.
Politically.
Hello.
One of the things we're watching on that front is this idea of independent voters. We know that they are going to be potentially a crucial voting bloc here. Vice President Harris had made overtures to this group in the closing weeks of her campaign, really trying to win them over, to get them over to her side. Look at how they're breaking nationally here. She is winning independent voters nationally, 51%, Donald Trump 44%. Here's the thing. Nationally is not how you win or lose the White House. You win the White House in the battleground states. And look at the state of states, Pennsylvania, right? The most key battleground this year. In Pennsylvania, it's the opposite. It's former President Trump.
Pennsylvania, yay! That's where I'm at.
Over Vice President Harris in this really important state where the margins could be really close here. You can see it's 50%. She's at 44%. Again, that's in Pennsylvania. So you might ask, okay, well, how does that?
I only know one person's voting for Harris. Everybody else I know is voting for Trump.
Now in Pennsylvania, you see in 2020, 44%. He's doing a bit better now in 2024, 50%. And Savannah, Lester, Chuck, Chris, and I'll toss it back to you at the table. This could be really interesting as we watch this develop throughout the course of the night, not just in Pennsylvania, but in some of these other key battlegrounds as well, like Michigan and Wisconsin.
Actually, I think Chuck wanted to weigh in.
No, I just think we are seeing something else happen, which is you have a country that's really sour about our politics, sour about the direction of the country, and we now have fewer people identifying with the two major parties according to our exit polls. It's a huge development. Independents are the fastest growing bloc. Now, it's very rational. If you don't like the direction of the country, you don't like what's happening, and you think there's a threat to democracy, do you have a lot of faith in the two major parties? The lowest share of major party people identifying with the two major parties in at least 4 elections, it means these independent votes are going to be the whole.
Right now, Trump's kicking ass.
Who's president?
We are keeping a sharp eye on this.
Pennsylvania, guys.
We can show you where things stand. We've just had a change of characterization here. Our characterization from the decision desk now is that this is too close to call. You can see about a 267,000 vote difference between the two, with 37% of the vote in. But again, the NBC News characterization at this point, too close to call in Georgia.
We've got a lot of contributors lined up to talk to you tonight. We've got Senator Claire McCaskill, I believe, over at our Insider's Desk. And Senator, I wonder what you thought about that. With some are saying it's something of an alarm bell. This Loudoun County, suburban Washington, D.C., northern Virginia, where it seems that Kamala Harris is underperforming. And as you well know, the suburbs in these battleground states are key to her victory.
Yeah, listen, this is the golden hour. You know, this is when it is very early. We have exit polls, and by the way, if exit polls were correct, I would be governor and John Kerry would have been president. And Hillary Clinton would have been president. So I think we've got to take all of that with a big, giant grain of salt and wait for the actual numbers to come in. Because, as we all know, these come in from different places. Typically, rural places come in before urban locations. So I think she's going to be fine in the suburbs. I think, and I don't think the exit polls will actually reflect accurately what will happen with independent voters. I'm not saying she's going to dominate independent voters, but I'll be very surprised if there are a whole lot of women that call themselves independents that don't vote for Donald Trump.
At what point in all this do you begin to let out a sigh of relief here?
Well, listen, I think depending on what happens in Georgia and North Carolina, if by any chance she wins those 2 states, then I can breathe again. If she does not, then obviously Pennsylvania becomes even bigger. And let's don't sleep on Nevada. I think that may be the closest margin in this race. I think it may be literally maybe 500 votes separating the two candidates. I think it's that close in Nevada.
Well, we're waiting polls to close there in less than an hour. Nevada and Arizona, the Midwestern battlegrounds, but we do not expect results there, frankly, for days. So I guess Senator McCaskill is going to be holding her breath for a very, very long time. We've got Sarah Fagan here, too, a veteran of Republican campaigns. And again, with all the caveats, we are reading tea leaves right now, Sarah. What are you looking at? What are you noticing? And how do you see this shaking out?
So if you look at Florida, you look at Virginia, Donald Trump is running about 4 points better than he did in 2020. But then contrast Georgia and North Carolina, where I should caveat that less of the vote is in. He's running 1 point ahead in Georgia. He's running a little behind in North Carolina, where he did in 2020. And that says to me, perhaps, that the Harris GOTV effort is quite strong, that she's pulling her votes out in places where the campaign organized. So she's holding that margin closer.
And the GOTV, for those of you just joining us on Political Nerd Chat, get out the vote, the ground game, when we're talking about it, this is about when you say, you pull the bus up and you say, let's go, we're going to hold you by the hand and take you to the polls. And organizing is the key to any successful campaign.
Trump is kicking ass right now.
Campaign touting the fact that, for example, they knocked on 3 million doors over the weekend. It winds up being numbers, though, until people actually go to the polls and vote. And I do think, just bouncing on something that Chuck said earlier, just to zoom out for a moment, remember that one of the biggest issues of this campaign was change. What people really want is change. And so what you saw in both of their closing arguments was an attempt to argue they're the change.
Right now, Trump's in the lead.
So what we are seeing, for example, with
I'm in Pennsylvania. That's the one we worried about.
I think the person who winds up winning this race will be the person who
Personally,
voters say that's the change
I only know one person voting for Harris. Everybody else I know is all Trump. Even the Amish for Trump. I only know one person vote for Harris. Personally. Everybody else want Trump to win.
Same thing for Vice President as you're looking at the popularity or favorability rating for President Biden, which is low. And so the question, is that going to be a drag on how she does? To your point on the get out the vote effort, this is why early vote was critical for both of these campaigns, with some 79 million people voting early. Better to bank those votes. What if somebody gets sick? What if somebody's kid has to say
Trump's got
or whatever? Get those votes in now to get them locked and loaded.
Let me just change it.
Trump's got 11 million. She got 9 million on the popular vote.
Projection in the state of South Carolina. South Carolina will go to Donald Trump.
Donald Trump got South Carolina.
And here's where the breakdown right now.
Woo-woo!
Donald Trump, again, the projected winner. 24% of the vote in there, vote difference of about 104,000. But again, Donald Trump will pick up South Carolina. Here's where it leaves us in the road.
Go, Trump.
Out in front with 99. Kamala Harris, 27.
Wow.
The polls have closed. They're counting, but we don't have results yet. Still either too early to call or too close to call. And this is Garrett Hickey, the Trump headquarters.
Too early to call, but Trump's he's doing pretty good.
Tell us what the campaign is saying to you.
Well, Savannah, what seems to be calming nerves down the street at Mar-a-Lago is what they're seeing out of Georgia right now, a state you were just discussing, where their key to victory was essentially blowing the doors off in rural turnout and improving their margins among minority voters, Latino voters, black voters. The campaign is seeing in the same exit polls we're looking at.
Trump just won South Carolina.
Black voters, particularly black men, who the Trump campaign has spent heavily for months and months and months to try to win over, even just a few percentage points, the kind of thing that could make a difference in a state decided by fewer than 12,000 votes 4 years
Hi.
ago. The other thing that I think has accrued to
Malika.
Trump's favor in Georgia
How you doing?
is the
Malika Abate.
among Georgia Republicans. Remember, there was a huge fallout with
Did you vote Malika?
popular Republican governor there after 2020. Trump and Kemp made amends, although they rarely appeared together on the campaign trail. The two singing from the same hymnal in the races.
This is exciting as hell. I ain't gonna lie.
Could be helpful to Trump in that state.
All right, Garrett, we have a call to make. This is North Carolina.
Uh-oh.
The governor's race there. Josh Stein, the Democrat, takes the race there. He faced off.
That's where I'm at. I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see.
Candidate, and the polls have just, well, we talked about ticket where perhaps the vote for the presidency might be.
You live in China. Okay.
Perhaps will be
Wow. Nice. I'm I'm honored. That's a long ways away. You see right there, Trump's got 99, she got 27.
This is a state that has ticket split president governor before. That's it, right? So this, I mean,
They have a Democratic governor right now,
that's
Roy
exactly
Cooper.
right. So if somebody's looking at this going, well, the Democratic governor won in North Carolina, doesn't that mean maybe the Vice President Harris is a lock? It does not. And just to throw that out there,
They're showing these other people.
Republicans know how to check a Republican for president and a Democrat for governor.
But this was a campaign on
Hello, China.
with the stat by problem.
The setback problems because he was determined that he posted some highly controversial comments on an adult website, and so the backlash was massive. This result was expected. The question is, that was, by the way, one of the controversies. I'm giving you the biggest one. The question is, will he drag down support for former President Trump? We don't know the answer, but we do know that in 2020, President Biden was not able to win this state because there was, in part, it's believed, a controversial Democratic candidate.
Trump just took South Carolina.
His chances. Now, just to zoom out a little bit, the Democrat hasn't won the state of North Carolina since 2008 when Barack Obama did it. Trump added 3 campaign stops in these closing days of the race.
Trump is kicking some butt right now. He got 12 million, she got 10 million of the popular vote.
Absolutely. North Carolina was very, very tight in 2022. Trump won it, but it was right up there in terms of narrow margins.
Absolutely. And it's a good reminder that even if the electoral vote count ultimately has a pretty wide gap, these margins can be very tight, and those electoral votes, listen, they all go to the winner, right? So that's what matters here in a state like North Carolina.
We already talked to Garrett Haake, who was in West Palm at Trump headquarters. Let's go over to Peter Alexander. He's at the Harris headquarters in Washington.
Hey, Savannah, you just heard from Garrett a moment ago talking about how Donald Trump's team seems to be satisfied that he is doing a bit better with those Black and Latino voters right now. Similarly, the Harris campaign feels good that she is outperforming with white voters over Joe Biden's performance with them in some of our early exit poll indications in parts of the country right now. One thing they're keeping an eye on. Another thing I'm hearing from senior officials within the campaign as they get ready to start the program here is that they are seeing really good enthusiasm among those youngest voters, those college students in particular right now. They're talking about long lines. Let me do this. To start this Star Spangled Banner, I'll give it back to you with respect to our country, then we'll come back in a moment.
All right, Peter, that is Harris headquarters in Washington, D.C. We've got Tom Yamas over at the big board.
Yeah, we're talking to
Harris took D.C. I knew she's going to take most of the cities, like Philly and Washington, D.C., but I don't know if she's going to take Baltimore.
They're both like total votes. We're back to square one where we were in 2020. Let's talk about Georgia tonight, because what we're seeing is
okay. Here we go with Georgia.
Overperforming, so it's going to be a nail biter. Remember, in 2020, it came down to about 12,000 votes.
It's a 13-hour and 17-minute drive to Georgia. Are you sure you want to navigate?
Hell no. Google, shut up.
Okay.
Hey Google, who's winning the presidential election right now?
2024 U.S. presidential election results. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 95 electoral votes and 54% of the vote.
Yep.
Clayton County, 70% in, slightly overperforming Biden. That's pretty good. We'll keep moving. Henry County, 1% in. This is one of those swing counties we can talk about. 1% in. I don't know how much we're going to be able to say there.
Hey Google, what states did Donald Trump win?
2024 U.S. presidential election results. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 95 electoral votes and 54% of the vote.
Oh, yeah.
We should be, and overperforming in White County. Again, those are the rural counties. Let's go to Georgia's Black Belt, where they have counties with lots of African-American voters. Here in Doherty, this is about 70% African-American here, slightly overperforming Biden. So again, guys, what I'm trying to say here is that right now, it's very very similar to what we saw in 2020. Trump seems to be hitting his marks where he was in the rural counties. In those African-American counties and around the Atlanta region, Democrats are hitting those marks.
Trump is winning right now.
Reasons why, when we click on Georgia right here, it is literally just too close to call, guys.
All right, Tom, we got a lot ahead here. We're going to take a break, and then another state closing its polls. Which candidate will it bring closer to those crucial 270 electoral college votes? We'll be right back.
Trump's winning right now.
Discover a non-invasive lift for face and neck.
Google, what states did Donald Trump win?
2024 U.S. presidential election results. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 95 electoral votes and 54% of the vote.
Hey Google, what states did Donald Trump win?
2024 U.S. presidential election results. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 95 electoral votes and 54% of the vote.
Hey Google, what states did Kamala Harris win?
2024 U.S. presidential election results. According to the Associated Press, Kamala Harris is in second place with 35 electoral votes and 44.9% of the vote. Donald Trump leads with 95 electoral votes and 54% of the vote.
Donald Trump's leading. I'm baby girl. Mm. Is Donald Trump winning, Zoe? So yeah, he's winning right now. Say hello. Wow, Donald Trump's kicking ass, man. He got 14 million. She got 11 million. Woo.
To 270, filling out a bit with some predictable wins and losses in this country. But let's go to the battleground. Virginia, it's too early to call. Just 33% of the vote in. We'll continue to watch it. Ohio, the polls have closed there. It is too early to call, although that once battleground is now more a reliably red state. We'll see how that shakes out. Pennsylvania, stop me if you've heard Pennsylvania very much during this campaign season. It may all hinge on the Commonwealth. Too early to call there. And in Georgia, we have characterized this as...
I can't believe she's winning in Ohio. It's more liberal there than I thought it was.
In. And though you see that margin, depending on what they're coming from, it is our expectation that right now this vote in Georgia's 16 electoral votes just too close to call.
All right, let's go over to Hallie Jackson with some new polling information on the gender gap.
So this has been a storyline we're talking about all night, right? We say it, Savannah, Lester, you both said it, the battle of the sexes, men versus women. It gets a little bit more complicated at that. But let's
Hallie Jackson. She looks really nice tonight.
It absolutely still exists. So these are our exit polls nationally based on gender. You can see, obviously, this is just the vote here. Women, 53%, 47% men. Typically what we might see when you get into vote break, 47% men. Typically what we might see when you get into President Harris, more men are backing former President Trump. More women, 55% for Harris, Trump 43%. We'll go to men, and you'll see it flips, right? That red slice of the pie gets a little bit bigger for Donald Trump when it comes to men nationally, and we'll pull that up so you can see it. The other piece of this, though, there's more to it, right? And when you get a little bit deeper in race and education, that is where this gets really key. And for that, you look at white college-educated women. We've been talking about this demographic a lot here in some of these key swing states. She is doing better with white college-educated women. Donald Trump is doing better with non-college educated white women, and that is another piece of the gender gap dynamic that's at play here.
Well, actually, we have a historic gender gap potentially, and we have a historic education gap potentially. And I want to bring in our panel. We've got Sarah Fagan, who is here. She was a veteran of the Bush White House, George W. Bush, the political director there, and Senator Claire McCaskill of the great state of Missouri that was once a swing state, as well as a Democratic senator. Way back when. So we talked a lot about the gender gap, but I think the education gap is key here too. When you hear what Hallie says, Senator, what's your take?
I think, we have so many divides at this point. We have urban, rural. We have college educated, non-college educated. But the big one this election are women and men. And yes, there is a difference between college educated women and non-college educated women. But the support for Harris is so big among college educated women. And the key in this election, I think, is are they going to drag their husbands, their sons, their uncles with them over to the Trump side? Because these are my peeps, right?
Are those the shy Harris voters?
College-educated older women.
Yeah.
I live in that place.
Is this the battle of the sexes, or is that being overplayed?
Well, I do think that college-educated women are a critical, if not the critical voting bloc in this election. And, Hallie, you pointed out that according to the exit polls, it's 53% of the electorate. In 2020, it was 52. Now, 1 point doesn't seem like
Georgia's too close to
but,
call.
If Kamala Harris drives up her
Donald Trump is leading with 15 million votes.
these close contests, like
Kamala Harris got 12 million.
that could be a deciding factor.
I can't believe we haven't actually talked about it yet tonight. Reproductive rights. This is the first presidential election post-Dobbs, the decision that overturned Roe versus Wade. We've seen the potency of that issue. Abortion rights measures have passed every time they've been on the ballot since the Dobbs decision, but we haven't yet had a presidential election. But do you think that issue still has its potency and is a weak spot for Republicans?
I think it has its potency for sure. It definitely cuts both ways, meaning you see about 10% of the electorate on both sides of the issue for whom that is the most important issue. But there's no question among younger voters, especially younger women, that that's an issue that is driving them out. And so the question is, really, is that the main issue they're voting on, or is that one of many issues they're voting on?
Yeah, I think, frankly, when we look at this, if Kamala Harris wins the presidency, we're going to talk a lot
She
about
ain't
how the
gonna
West
win.
got her there, but I don't think we should ignore the fact that college students are playing a big role today. The lines, the overperformance at college campuses right now, whether you're in North Carolina or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Nevada, on the ground, I've talked to the team that's running the ground game in all of these states. They have
Who am I voting for? I'm voting for Trump.
on college campuses. So we may have a divide
Yep.
between
I voted for Trump
age and kids who aren't in college.
3 times. This will be my 3rd time voting for Trump.
Across all states.
In all of the states, they're exceeding their model on how many people are voting at these college at places that are primarily college.
Did you? Are you, Malika? Are you an American citizen?
We can show you how
Or
Florida
is living in China?
This, by the way, requires a 60% to reach 60% level. So right now, not there yet. We're not making a call, but that's.
It's been interesting to see these ballot measures. We have one in Florida. You mentioned there's abortions on the ballot literally in 10 states, 2 of them battlegrounds, Nevada and Arizona. Some of the battlegrounds, Michigan, for example, had abortion on the ballot 2 years ago, listed Democrats prospects in Michigan. Now, is there a question in your mind, Senator McCaskill, whether or not that Democrats who might have been motivated?
No, Google's okay.
Like, oh, well, it's already taken care of. People are kind of in the middle thing. I can vote for
I like
somebody,
Google's.
I think I've already taken
Google's
care of
keeping it real.
question with regard to the
Hey Google, who's winning the presidency?
2024 U.S. presidential election results. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 95 electoral votes and 53.7% of the vote.
See, there you go.
When you have women dying who want to have the children, who are suffering a miscarriage and can't get the health care they need, that takes it to a different level. And I don't think we had very many of those stories out there in 2022 like we have in 2024. And I think the campaign has certainly emphasized those stories and the brave women telling them. And I also think that this is an issue that
Oh, here we go.
one they're putting on Sarah
I've talked with.
Election alert.
Look at that thought in a moment. We have an election alert now. This is a poll closing here at the 8:30 hour in the east. Arkansas will be closing here momentarily. We'll perhaps get a characterization. That's the only one at 8:30 we're going to see. Here's the projection. NBC News can project that Donald Trump will win in the state of Arkansas.
Donald Trump is winning in Arkansas.
Here's where we are on the map to 270. That leaves Donald Trump at 99 electoral votes, 27 for Harris. Again, the goal, 270.
All right, let's go to
Wow, go Trump, go.
Race for president too close to call at this hour. 53% of the vote and just too close.
He is kicking her buttocks.
Early to call. They're just getting started in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and North Carolina. Also too early to call. We do have more vote there, but
Donald Trump just won Arkansas.
Yet to call those races. However, Tom, as I go to you, these are some of the races. Georgia and North Carolina, these are fast counters. And we may be able to make a call by the middle of the night or in the early hours this morning. And
all right, all you illegal immigrants better start packing up. Head back across the border.
Projected winner. Some point tonight, those will be the two first battlegrounds that
Well, Donald Trump get in office.
Hope to call at some point earlier tonight, but we'll have to wait and see. We're ready for anything. We could be surprised by anything. I want to talk about Virginia for a little bit, and a caveat here, as Chuck Todd reminded us. Northern Virginia, the suburbs, they do sort of report late. That vote is still coming in, but we still see some troubling signs for Kamala Harris, at least in some of these counties. So Biden was at 61%, 95% of the vote is in. I just want to highlight
Trump wins Arkansas. Yes.
So not a lot of
Yes, sir.
She's at 56%, 57%.
Arkansas. Yes, sir.
We keep going around. My team flagged another county. Fairfax County, she's doing fine. Prince William, though, underperforming here as well. 80% of the vote is in. Biden was at 62. She's at 58. Again, these are suburban women, highly educated, college degrees, sort of your establishment Democrats.
Nobody cares about your college degree anymore.
Virginia as well. A lot of people move here for the jobs, to work in government as well. Again, it's still very early. We're still waiting for all the votes.
People want to get back to the old school, families and stuff.
This is just south of Virginia. African Americans who originally lived in Richmond moved out to places like Chesterfield and Henrico as well.
Trump wins Arkansas. Trump wins Arkansas. Yes, sir.
So we're keeping an eye on it. And you see, this is where Biden was in 2020. This is where Kamala Harris is tonight, 49.4. But there's only 35% of the vote in. So still a lot of vote to be counted there. So we're going to stay and watch that.
Trump's 105 to her 27. Boy, he's kicking her butt. The first one to get to 270 wins.
Again, how does he win states like Virginia? They're going to run up the
Whoop,
votes in
whoop.
urban areas, the Democrats. He runs up the votes in the rural areas, so that's going to be good there.
Hey, Google.
The Republicans, if they want to hold those marks. Virginia,
Who's winning the presidential election?
Again, an area that sometimes
2024 U.S. presidential election results. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 101 electoral votes and 53.4% of the vote.
Whoop, whoop.
Still waiting for some of the vote to come in here, but some signs that, maybe trouble Democrats, maybe they trouble Republicans as well. We're going to have to wait. Back to you guys.
All right, we shall wait. We do have a
Pack your suitcase, Buttercup. The party's over.
Joe Biden will go for Kamala Harris as expected. Here's how the vote shook out, just 48% in, but this is an easy projection with the margins as they are expected to be. So here's where we fill out our map.
There you go.
On the East Coast, Delaware being added to the tallies for Kamala Harris. Donald Trump leading in some of these big states in the South.
Donald Trump's kicking ass.
His way are starting to report in. Speaking of the South, we've got NBC News correspondent Allison Barber. She's in the key county of Gwinnett County, Georgia. First vote starting to come in there, and what are you hearing? We've got both campaigns really laser focused on this area.
Yeah, they care a lot about this county, and let me just show you, because we've just started to see precinct captains coming in with their memory cards, with the votes that happened in person on election day. You see this line that goes out the door around. What you're looking at are all of the precinct captains from Gwinnett County. Ultimately, what they're coming in here, they have with them
Georgia is too close to call.
with the official election seal on the top of the envelope and memory cards, and at least two from each precinct that have the total of votes for today. So they come in here, they check in with these folks, and then they ultimately take their memory cards to the different election workers that are sitting around here, and they open up, they look at those envelopes, make sure they're sealed properly.
Hey, Google.
Make sure it has everything necessary.
Who's winning Pennsylvania?
And then they send them back
2024 U.S. presidential election results for Pennsylvania. According to the Associated Press, Kamala Harris leads with 71.1% of the vote. The Associated Press hasn't yet called this race.
Wow, she's leading Pennsylvania? That must be just the Philly area.
It's also incredibly diverse. It leans blue, but back in 2020, Donald Trump carried about 40% of the vote in Gwinnett County. And ultimately, what Republicans in the Trump campaign were looking for tonight is to see if they could increase turnout just enough where they run up the margins by a few percentage points and hold on to Republican strongholds in the state, and then are maybe well positioned to carry the state. Democrats, the Harris campaign, they were also hoping to up their turnout here so they could create that blue wall Tom has been talking so much about.
Kamala is winning in Pennsylvania.
Coming a little this way, because one of the most significant aspects of tonight that we've watched in here are the early votes, early in-person voting numbers in this county. Over 50% of active voters in Gwinnett County alone voted early. That's either by mail-in ballots.
Trump's kicking her butt, though.
Back over here, you see all these things. I've been describing them today.
Trump's got 105. She got 30. First one to get to 270 wins.
Of the in-person early votes, about 300,000 of them. There was a team of election workers here who had been sequestered since 9 a.m., prepping all of these so they could process and get the early numbers out quickly. Every election official and the supervisor of Gwinnett County Elections has told us they've been on
This
track
is
to
exciting.
all of their markers that have results in on the earlier side, and they're still working over here tonight. This is where the mail-in ballots will come.
Boy, look at all that red. Look at all that red. Look.
Ultimately, we're going to see more
Look at all the red.
coming from the individual
Trump's kicking her ass.
election day to the other side here.
Sorry. Get back. Get back.
All of that. The big question here is going to be, what does turnout look like? Did for the Republicans.
I'm back.
Is likely Harris voters who are hard to reach, people who probably vote Democrat but maybe haven't voted in past elections. The local county Democrats, they told us they spent a lot of time trying to reach those voters, canvassing, directly targeting ads to them, and sending a lot of mailers in more than a dozen languages to try to get them out. So far, we're told, and you can just see the scale of everything here, the supervisor for Gwinnett County Elections, he told us that they are on target right now to surpass voter turnout compared to 2020 by 6:30 today. They had 70% voter turnout roughly in this county. That's exactly what they had back in 2020. So they think they are going to have more turnout in this county, and for both Republicans and Democrats, that's exactly what they were hoping to see. But the big question is, how do those votes fall? And remember, 2020, we saw in the midterms a lot of
Trump's kicking butt.
Republicans who voted for Republican Governor Brian Kemp, despite
18 million to 15 million.
Support, and him coming out against him in the midterms, and then voting for the Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock. The question tonight in this county is, could that happen again? And the numbers, at least in terms of the totality, are inching up past what both campaigns were hoping to see tonight. Savannah?
All right, Ellison, thank you. Gwinnett County, late rallies by Donald Trump there in that county and neighboring Cobb County, and you got to get handed to the election workers.
Man, Kamala's kicking his butt in Pennsylvania, though. I can't believe that.
They won't even look up. They're counting the votes. It makes you feel good about democracy
These
and
are the
work.
heroes of the night.
Yes.
There's also a storyline in Georgia about election workers, of course, right? And the threats that election workers have faced in so many of these battleground states. And you look at Georgia, that is the home, of course, of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, who were two elections workers who came under fire, faced death threats, faced severe hardship in their lives because of those election fraud lies from former President Trump. So these election workers, man, are they doing a civic duty
Oh my
for
God.
everybody?
My favorite part of voting is when I walk in and see the smiley faces. They've got this great task in front of them, and
Well, Drew, how good election workers? It makes a sense.
And it's part of the story of tonight, though, and tomorrow morning, because they've brought on more election workers in all of these states to make sure that they can count more quickly. I do think Ellison's report was fascinating. Gwinnett County, it went for Clinton by 6 points, for Biden by 18 points. So this is a county that Democrats have been increasingly eyeing, as have Republicans.
We talk about the gender gap as I go to Senator McCaskill and Sarah Fagan. I mean, I mentioned there were Trump rallies in Gwinnett County. One of them was the one where Tucker Carlson, the former Fox News host, talked about that, daddy's coming home and going to give a little girl a spanking. Like, the sheriff's come into town, which is a message that, if you're trying to reach female voters, I don't know how the females on this panel feel about that. But that's where that happened.
Not good. Don't feel good about that.
Yeah.
I think most women don't feel good about that. But, I come from a state that is very Trump heavy. So I certainly know that there are women out there that have bought what he's selling. say I think there's about a third of the Trump voters that don't believe a word he says, that they really like the idea that their tax cuts going to stay in place, and they think their business interests are going to be better protected with less regulation. And then 2/3 of the Trump voters who believe every word he says and like it just fine.
So I want to get your thought on something at work right now. And there's been a bit of a mixed message in the campaign, the Donald Trump's campaign, about early voting. Yes, do it, don't do it. How do you think that is playing out tonight?
Well, if you look at some of the early vote returns, certainly we saw higher numbers of Republicans voting early. It looks to me like a lot of those were election day voters previously who voted early. Okay, great for the Trump campaign. They banked votes. They can focus on those who haven't voted. So to me, what I'm going to be looking for is his share of the early vote higher than it was in 2020? Democrats dominated the early vote totals in 2020. And, Donald Trump in most of these states was doing 35, not even higher than 40% in any of those states, these target states we've been talking about all night. So does he do 42, 43, 44%?
I think in 2020, we were in the midst of a
Hey
pandemic.
Google,
Donald Trump was actively
who's winning Pennsylvania in the presidential election?
2024 U.S. presidential election results for Pennsylvania. According to the Associated Press, Kamala Harris leads with 70.2% of the vote. The
Wow,
Associated Press hasn't yet called this race.
she's leading with 72% in
That's
PA.
number one. So I think he learned that lesson. And also, if you just look at the trends in early voting and the trends in absentee by states, it's a prudent thing to do.
To be clear, the Republican apparatus absolutely made a big push this cycle to get voters out to vote early. Donald Trump himself was all over the map on that. You see it at his rallies. He talks about at one rally he would say go out and do it. At another rally he would cast doubt on the validity of ballots that were put in through the mail, etc. Some of that likely seeped down to some of his voters in some of these key battleground states, as we heard from talking to voters in some of these battlegrounds. Remember that this is a former president who, over the summer, you look at, let's say, 20 rallies, at 5 of them, he cast doubt on the results of the
Okay,
election, even though
Pennsylvania.
they were counted.
Trump's
That
winning
ramped up in just the last month. At
Perks
14
County,
rallies, he did the same thing. So he
64 to
has not been
35.
consistent on this.
Let's go to Tom Yamas right now. Tom, as we speak, North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania.
Harris is winning
right now.
Yeah, and we're getting ready for poll closings in places like Nebraska. And Nebraska
69 to 29
to it all.
statewide.
Nebraska, yes. So when you look at our beautiful map here, you see the maps, the states that are red, the states that are blue, and our battlegrounds here that aren't colored in. And then Nebraska and Maine, they have this kind of Where's Waldo effect. When we hit it, here's why. Nebraska and Maine, they both give out their electors a little differently, their electoral votes. If you win the popular vote, you get 2 in Nebraska, and then they give them by congressional district as
Trump
well.
won Arkansas.
Is going to win 2 of the congressional districts most likely in the popular vote. But Congressional District 2, CD2 in Nebraska, is a battleground district, and the entire election, I say, could come
Trump
down to
is
this.
winning
So
Georgia.
let's take you to Nebraska and show you where CD2 is. It's
Not
essentially
official
the city
yet,
of
though.
Omaha, right? I'm going to draw it for you and then show you the congressional district. It's the city of Omaha, a little bit of Saunders, and a little bit of Sarpy as well. I should say all of Saunders as well. That's essentially the way it looks, right? I'm going to give you the
They got him
congressional map.
projected winning for Georgia.
So this right here, that's Congressional District 2.
Oh yeah.
As I said, 2016 Trump wins by 6,000 votes. In 2020,
Trump the projected winner for Georgia.
Why is it important? Because we come down to that scenario where it's 269. Savannah, I gamed that out. It's going to come down to
Trump is
Nebraska.
kicking her
So
buttocks.
it matters so much that we spoke to people
105 to 30.
what this campaign was
First one get to 270 wins.
They've been inundated
Yes,
with
sir.
television, on the radio, people calling them. Unlike
Trump is winning North Carolina.
Again, it likely won't come down to
51 to 47%.
vote matters. Again, Omaha,
Statewide.
Nebraska, fastest growing area, and tonight we'll be watching it.
Tom, you promised me you would not raise the
All right, you can have Pennsylvania, Kamala, even though I can't believe that. I don't know nobody in Pennsylvania is voting for you. One person. I know one person out of many.
Does that talk about head exploding? Yes, perhaps it is. But
Probably must be like around Philly area.
Contested races, and it's actually nice to see. I think we've divided our country so much into red and blue. It's nice to see that once you get on a county by
Kamala's
county level,
winning Michigan.
all of these states are they're not.
Well, no, my bad.
They're
They're breaking it down by the
right next to each
cities
other.
and counties.
Nebraska is a very good example of that. Yeah, but I would say you're right. We live
I guarantee you some of the folks that live out in a very sparsely populated rural county don't relate to some of the same issues that the
This
people
is
in Omaha
history
face.
in the making.
It's much more of an urban area.
There's also a high Senate race there right now where
There's gonna be a lot of history about Donald Trump, boy.
who just cruised to re-election there, but there's an
First
independent
president. Is he the first president
really giving a run for
to win
her money for Doug Fisher.
Yeah.
and
And I will
lose
say that
and then come back and win? I can't think of no other president that done that.
I don't think we talk about this enough.
I think he's the first president to win, lose, and then win.
Is a much different operation than going door to door in a densely populated area. It's not
Kamala Harris
it's more difficult.
is
Frankly, a lot of folks out in the rural area don't want
the
strangers
first.
knocking on their door.
Well, she ain't the first woman because Clinton ran. First woman of color. I ain't gonna say she black because I don't know what color she is. She look like she Indian to me, but first woman of color to run.
It'll be interesting to see how this independent does in Nebraska. He says he's going to be independent. He won't caucus with either party. He won't vote for either leader. He says his job would be to try to bring the two parties together. It's probably a winning message right now. I just don't know if Nebraska's pretty red.
All right, well, the drama is continuing to build. 3 big battlegrounds closing at the top of the next hour. Don't go away. We'll be right back as we count down the road to 270.
Well, this is exciting. Trump is kicking her butt right now. 105 to 30. Hey Google. Who's winning the presidential election?
2024 U.S. presidential election results. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 101 electoral votes and 53.8% of the vote.
Donald Trump's winning. Hey Google, who won the state of Georgia in the presidential election?
2024 U.S. presidential election results for Georgia. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 55.2% of the vote.
Woo woo.
The Associated Press hasn't yet called this race.
Not official, but he's the projected winner. Winner, chicken dinner. All I'm gonna say is them illegals better start packing their bags now. They better start heading across that border. Donald Trump is winning the election so far. They're in a commercial break. Zoe, you leaving Dad? Where you going? You leaving me? She said it's too much excitement for her. Okay, we're back. So let's see what's going on now. We are back.
On the road to 270. We're talking about the presidential race.
Polls closed in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona.
There is also hanging in the balance tonight the balance of power. Who controls Congress?
Donald Trump's kicking her buttocks. He got 105. She only got 30. Donald Trump's a projected winner. Uh-oh, here we go. Here we go.
West Virginia, as we have already reported, Justice has won the seat after
Here we go.
the Democrats who then switched to an independent.
I can get this thing to
Now,
focus.
He was not running for re-election. This is expected. It is the first Republican.
Oh, that's
justice
somebody else. Jim Justice.
had called that Rick Scott has held on to
Yeah, I know.
in Florida.
Pennsylvania's leaning blue. That's all right. She can have Pennsylvania. I'm pissed off.
This was one of these races.
Even if she take Pennsylvania, Donald Trump's kicking her buttocks. See that? Look at that. 105 to 30.
Very closely, the Senate race in Ohio
Turn her a new one.
Looking for a fourth term against former car dealer Trump.
First one get to 270.
So we'll watch that closely. Pennsylvania, another big
Here we go.
battleground. Senator Bob Casey, with 67% of the vote. Dave McCormick,
Oh, they showing other people. Bob Casey, he's a Democrat. Boo.
Paul was just 13% in. Let's take a look at the big picture here. Again, Republicans have now picked up one seat for the Senate at this hour.
The local politics is different, though. Honestly, a lot of people in Pennsylvania like Democrats to win because they're more for the union. It's a lot of union in Pennsylvania. Democrats usually pull for the union.
Likely Montana. This is the other pickup that Republicans feel very confident about. They think they'll be able to get. I will tell you that Ohio Senate race being too early to call is interesting. I talked with one Senate Republican source who said, you know, they would have loved to see that call an hour ago, right? They would have loved to have had that in the bag.
Trump's kicking butt right now.
But we'll wait and see how this one goes.
Ohio.
Coming up the top of the hour, we're gonna
Democrats killing them in the other stuff.
Wisconsin, Arizona, all coming up. So this is the drama beginning to clearly build right now. The votes are being counted, and again, we'll get those closings here very shortly.
Pennsylvania will decide. Well, I don't know, cause Donald Trump's he's kicking. Look what he got. He got 105. She got 30. So he could probably lose Pennsylvania. He's still gonna win.
It is 8:51 in the east, and here is where we stand right now on the road to 270. And it has been a night of big surprises so far, with more to come. We're now just minutes.
Pennsylvania would have decided if he didn't win other stuff. Donald Trump won Georgia, South Carolina. I mean, he's killing them. See, you see what he got? He got 20 million. She got 17 million.
At the top of the hour, a major round of poll closings with the most battleground states of the entire night.
15 states and 163 electoral college votes up for grabs, including 3 critical swing states.
Will Vice President Kamala Harris hold on to the blue wall?
No.
Cut through Wisconsin and Michigan.
We are not going back.
Over former President Trump,
Oh yeah, you are.
like he did in 2016.
We're going back.
The first Western battleground.
Them illegals better start packing their bags right now.
Very big hello, Arizona. We love you.
Hello, Donald.
Arizona, we need to fight this battle on every front.
We are standing by for our first vote count in from these make or break states as our decision desk gets ready to make new calls on the road to 270.
Many votes to be counted. Battlegrounds all coming in. Michigan has 15 electoral votes up for grabs, the key state, and Jesse Kirsch in Detroit for us today. Jesse, the polls are just about to close, moments away. What do you expect? What are you hearing?
Yeah, so Savannah, statewide, they close at 9 p.m. Eastern, but here
I'm
in Detroit,
I'm very happy right now. Look at Donald Trump.
closed for almost an hour. You can see this ballot
First one to 270. He got 105. She got 30. Ha ha! Hang in there, Donald.
And what we've got going on here is people who have been in line well past when the polls officially closed to continue registering.
Donald Trump just won Missouri.
We do still have some people in that line. We had people telling us they'd waited in line for around 4 hours.
He's a projected winner for Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona.
Dealing with logistics as well as just waiting to be able to register to vote, but was ultimately able to do so. Someone else told us that they got out of line because of
Donald Trump's winning. I'm gonna take a break, guys. I'm gonna take a little break for a minute.
People were going to be allowed to go through the registration process, and it seems people are
Hey Google,
going through
who's winning the presidential election?
2024 U.S. presidential election results. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 101 electoral votes and 53.6% of the vote.
See, Trump's winning.
Traditionally, Republican voters toward the vice president. We will have a clearer answer as those results start coming in at 9 p.m. Eastern. Savannah, back to you.
And we'll get a better idea about turnout, too, which is all important for the Harris campaign in Detroit and also those collar counties. We want to switch over. Let's go to Arizona, the Mountain West. Polls closed. Gotti Schwartz, they're outside of polling place. Have you seen a lot of crowds?
Yeah, polls close in about 6 minutes here. This is
You'd rather be illegal in the United States than being illegal in heaven. Well,
right now, probably about 300 to 400 people in front of them. They
divide is very much in play here at Arizona State University, and there's been so much talk about low propensity voters. One of the things that we've been noticing here in talking
Polls are
about
closing
is
soon in
the
Michigan,
involvement of fraternity
Wisconsin, and Arizona.
They may not be.
Man, look at all that red.
May not be turning
Oh,
out the vote.
they switched it. Just see all that red. Donald Trump's kicking butt.
Fraternities have been involved in turning out the vote, and those that we've been talking to say that they are turning out for former President Donald Trump. We've also talked to a lot of other students that have been coming out for policy issues. There are several props. The issue of abortion is extremely important in turning out the vote. Immigration is also important. But I gotta say, just eavesdropping what people have been talking about in line.
What's the only thing the Democrats are talking about is abortion. Oh.
Listened to that Joe Rogan podcast with the former president, and that was the deciding factor for them. And they've also said that if Kamala
Let me take a break again.
the vice president of the United States,
I put back on there when they show a projected winner.
have their votes skewed. It's really interesting because some people are talking.
Trump's winning 105 to 30.
Kind of like vibes. Well, I like the vibe of Trump, or I like the vibe of Kamala Harris, but it's not so policy.
Trump is winning North Carolina.
We're almost to the end of the line. We just wrap around this corner. But again, right now we're in Maricopa County. This is.
I can't believe Maryland voted for. Then again, yeah, I can. They liberal as hell right now because they close to D.C. It's a lot of illegals in Maryland and Northern Virginia. That's MS-13 in Northern Virginia.
Abortion, would restore the constitutional right to an abortion. They've had a 60% threshold. It will not clear it. So amendment for right to abortion will go down.
Here we go. Let's see what we got.
Drop in here to say this. It was yes to protect in Florida, but you are seeing it needed a 60% threshold, as you said, Lester. This would be the
Your party's bad, but the only thing you can talk about is abortion. Like, I don't even want to go there, but
58 in Ohio, 57, 58 in Kansas. I mean, I think we know what the number is. Ironically, I talked to some Florida Republicans who secretly had hoped this would pass.
that's all you got. That's all y'all got is abortion. What about the economy, illegal immigrants, that war in Ukraine, with all our money going, trillions of dollars going to help Ukraine out, and we over here suffering?
Government power, it's going to create an interesting, there's going to be a fascinating, if the Democratic Party ever wants to have a chance in Florida again, they're going to get an opportunity, ironically, because this thing went down tonight.
Think about how complicated.
Okay, guys, Michigan poll closed in 1 minute 37 seconds.
And then he was asked about it repeatedly throughout the course of this campaign. Well, how are you going to vote on this? And he was shifting his position in the weeks leading up to this very vote. So it sort of underscores the point that
They're keeping it real quiet about Pennsylvania.
Republicans in Knott's, Donald Trump in Knott's, and now it
Hey, Google,
another day in Florida.
who's winning in Pennsylvania the presidential election?
2024 U.S. presidential election results for Pennsylvania. According to the Associated Press, Kamala Harris leads with 65.4% of the vote. The
65.
Associated Press hasn't yet called this race.
Okay, earlier she was winning by 75, so he's cutting into her lead. Pennsylvania's a big state. That's where I'm at. This is a huge state, man. They got so many counties, and I'm in Clinton County. I know everybody in Clinton County voting for Trump. Anybody vote for Kamala in Clinton County.
Very restrictive abortion ban passed, and this shock poll on the eve of the election had Kamala Harris carrying a red state. So it's just a very potent issue.
Not to overread into it, but it is an indicator perhaps, and the pollster there, Gold Standard pollster, thought perhaps the abortion issue was motivating these older white women, right? A demographic we've been watching tonight.
Here we go. Here we go. Let's see what we got.
We get some more poll closings here. We can give a few characterizations. In just 3 seconds, all of these states will see their polls closed. And we'll begin counting the votes. Here is state of Texas.
Oh, they psyched me out. They fooled us, guys.
Trump will win in the state of Texas.
Donald Trump won Texas. Woo woo!
NBC News projects that Donald Trump will also win in North
Donald Trump won North Dakota. Woo woo!
story. That will also go into the
Donald Trump won South Dakota. Woo woo!
move to the state of Wyoming.
Donald Trump won Wyoming. He is kicking her buttocks.
Here's the map. The road to
Look at that. The road to 270. Look what Donald Trump got.
Donald Trump 30 for Kamala Harris.
All right, let's go to the uncalled races just from those 9
Wow.
closings.
She could have Pennsylvania. Because he winning everything else.
There, but let's go to Michigan. That's the biggie at this hour. Polls closing in Michigan, and it is, wait for it,
Too early to call in Michigan. Look at Donald Trump numbers. Look at that. 154 to 30. Oh, yeah. Turn out the lights. Start singing. The fat lady starting to sing.
Pennsylvania, too early to call. Try to see more votes come in, but we could be waiting a bit for that. And same with North
All those illegal immigrants better start packing their bags.
to make a projection. And in Georgia, it's not too early. It's just too close. We are starting to see the vote come in. We've got 66% counted right now. And yet, despite the margin that you see there, we project not only
Looks like we're going back, Kamala. We're not going back. We're not going back. Yeah, we are. We're going back.
There's a method to that madness. Tom, and you've got Georgia up there.
And I'm going to explain the method to the madness, right? The difference right now, 220,000 votes. Trump on top with 66% of the vote in. But Republicans, they can't even get close to celebrating just yet. These sort of UFO objects we have circling Georgia right now, this is the remaining vote. And the bigger that bubble, that means the more vote that is out. And the more vote that is out right now is in the Atlanta metro region. Remember I told you guys earlier that about 50% of the vote is going to come from this area right here. The election is essentially one
Look at all that red.
Atlanta metro region because the margins are so close. Every vote matters, but because the margins are so close, Trump runs up that rural vote. The Democrats run up the urban vote. They run up the suburban counties around Atlanta as well. Let's take a look. Let's see how
Look at all, yep. Look at all that red.
Cobb County.
It's so pretty, so pretty.
Harris slightly overperforming where Biden was in 2020. Let's go over to Fulton County. This is where Atlanta is. A huge county for Democrats here. She's about where Biden was, 72% of the vote. She can catch up and bring that up. Gwinnett County, again, these are the counties that Clinton flipped in 2016, and they just got bluer and bluer. And you can see what's happening here. 16%.
Okay, I'm gonna take a break, guys. I'm gonna take a break till we get some more projected winners. Okay, so Donald Trump winner, Alabama. Donald Trump is winning 154 to Harris 30.
If she can keep that momentum going, she could possibly take the state of Georgia. But again, we got to wait and see. I want to see how Trump is doing in some of his rural counties. 78%, 95% of the vote is in. So 78% in 2020, he's at 78 right now. Let me go to neighboring Towns County right here, 8180, and then in Union, 8180. He seems to be hitting his marks too. I want to hit some sort of swing counties, if you will. Dooley is one of these. Trump won it in 2016, but if we go back, Obama had it in 2012. Tonight, Trump is up. He's building on his margins from 2020.
Man, look at all that red.
Let me see if Peach County is in. Peach County is another one that...
Every time I do this, as soon as I do this, they're gonna move it. Look at all that. Yeah, they moved it again. I'll go back. I just want to wait till they get something good on there. Georgia too close to call.
Harris seems to be comfortable. She seems to be at the same watermark where Biden was.
They got her projected winner for Georgia. I thought they said Donald Trump won Georgia. Hey Google, in the presidential election, who won Georgia?
2024 U.S. presidential election results for Georgia. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 52.6% of the vote.
Yeah.
The Associated Press hasn't yet called this race.
But why they got Kamala Harris on there? Donald Trump won Florida? Oh, it's over. It's over, Rover. It's over. He won Florida?
I know a lot of the vote is in over here in Orange County. This is UNC Chapel Hill.
It is over, Rover.
Medical research jobs, high-tech research jobs, affluent suburbs. educated Democratic voters.
Gotta watch out for the fix now. The fix could be
Not by much, but look, any little increment makes a difference when you're talking about a 10,000 vote difference.
we don't want Donald Trump to pull no Atlanta Falcons stuff. Up, and then all of a sudden lose.
Right now, he's going to run up the rural vote. We can check out some of his counties over here in western North Carolina.
Like in the Super Bowl.
Some of the counties that were affected by Hurricane Helene and all that devastating flooding. 95% and 81%. In 2020, he was at 79, so kind of overperforming. The big unknown was how many people were going to actually vote in here, and one of the great
Votes being counted in Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona. I guess they're doing a recount.
But if you no longer have a house, trying to get your vote,
Donald Trump, the projected winner in Kentucky.
Area that election officials actually changed the rules, so you could actually vote in other counties if you couldn't vote in your own county. It looks like turnout's okay. We heard that from Sam Brock. Asheville is that blue dot in the sea of red in North Carolina.
The party's over, cupcake. Pack your bags and your pumps. Time to go back to California. Get the heck out of the White House.
Was doing well or won, and she's hitting higher marks. Democrats are going to love that news, but there's still a lot of the vote is out, 76% in weight, like we said. Let me see where else in the state.
Yeah, she won Maryland.
Because there are a lot of rural counties.
Surprise, surprise for that one. She won D.C. Surprise, surprise. No surprise there. All them liberals in D.C.
It's a county that is majority minority, right? Mostly black and Hispanic, and they're still winning a lot of the vote there. That could be a very good sign for Democrats tonight. But some of the vote is out, like in these rural counties right here. If we check out Johnson County, just outside of Raleigh, connected to that. I'm actually kind of curious, even though only 8% is in here. This was a county that they were looking at to see if Democrats could make inroads there. It looks to be about the same.
She might win Philly.
We're going to keep a close eye on North Carolina as more of this map gets filled out.
All right, so here's where we are, 7 minutes after 9 o'clock in the East Coast. Polls have closed now. 6.
Donald Trump won Oklahoma.
Still waiting, obviously, for the 7th. Howie, you heard the numbers. Break it down how we're viewing it through the lens of the
through the exit polls, which are coming in, and I got to give the grain of salt caveat, which is these numbers don't get finalized until closer to Thanksgiving, right? So we don't want to overread into them, but they are an indication of where things stand. And what I'm looking at, given the polls,
The exit polls. Here we go.
the rest of the blue wall states, Michigan and Wisconsin. Here's something interesting. Look at the youth vote here. This is a little tricky to look at, but I'm going to walk you through it. Look at Vice President Kamala Harris. She's winning younger voters under the age of 30 in Wisconsin, but Donald Trump right on her heels there with 47%. He is actually winning younger voters in Michigan, 51% to 46%. And if you take a look even further into this, you can see that he is overperforming where he was among young voters in the state of Wisconsin, 47% now. That's a double-digit increase from where he was 4 years ago. It's a similar story in Michigan, and I will also tell you it is a similar story in Pennsylvania as well. You see the Michigan numbers here. Similar story in Pennsylvania as well when it comes to young
Donald
voters.
Trump won South Carolina. Look at all that red, guys. Look at that. All that red is Donald Trump. Unbelievable.
With older voters, so than she was relative to 2020. So there's some interesting dynamics at play here.
What's interesting is we saw guys sports in Arizona on the campus of Arizona State University, which gives me personal pain as a graduate of the University of Arizona. But I mean, he may be in ground zero of this very thing that exit poll is
I
showing.
love to be on CNN right now and see them crying. Oh, I can't believe this. Like when he won the first time.
Joe Rogan podcast, can't say I'm a regular listener to it, but he endorsed on the eve of the election, and that was.
Where did we go wrong?
Very influential. I remember it's complete state.
I can't believe they're voting for that asshole again.
That's right. You know, it was interesting. A lot of Democrats were very optimistic about some of their chances in some of the in the big Midwestern states.
Trump's kicking her buttocks. 154 to 30. And he only the first one to 270 wins. She hasn't even got to 50 yet.
They were all going to actually be in the battleground state. The pandemic, they were home and were dispersed. Obviously, a big chunk of Michigan voters are from Michigan. University of Michigan folks from Michigan, but there's quite a few that aren't. And
Trump is up by 3,290,000 votes.
For Trump, then it's not as much of an impact. Still, the massive gender gap among them.
Hey Google, what time is it?
It's 9:10 p.m.
Young voters
Young men
than any
and young
other
women.
age group.
I think the polls close at 10 o'clock maybe.
Including an abortion measure that needed a 60% approval, didn't quite get there, 57%, but went down to defeat in Florida. But to carry on this conversation, young women have been highly motivated by this issue of reproductive rights. Women of all ages motivated, young and old, and obviously it didn't work.
That's all the Democrats got to talk about is the right to abortion. Like the worst thing they can talk about. That's all they got. Hey, you guys can have an abortion.
You could take away easily. Once it's there, it can't just be wiped away when the change of legislature happens. And in those cases, it's a much different situation where you have to just get over a 50% threshold. And so it'd be interesting to see.
They can't talk about nothing else. Can't talk about the economy. Can't talk about all these illegals coming over here.
Pro-abortion ballot measures, even in very red states, pass and sometimes pass with 56, 57% of the vote, which, by the way, is what they got in Florida.
There has been a significant shift in the electorate, if these exit polls bear out to what we see right now, into how people feel about abortion rights and abortion access since 4 years ago. I would suspect it is entirely probably because of the overturning of Roe versus Wade. In 2020, 51% of people felt that abortion should be...
Well, they're keeping a tight lid on Pennsylvania. They ain't saying nothing about Pennsylvania.
Let me just quickly go back to this second, but I believe we have another call to make.
Another project. Here we go.
State of Mississippi. NBC News now projects that Donald Trump will take all 6 elections.
Woo woo!
Win in Mississippi.
Donald Trump won Mississippi.
Breakdown right
Woo 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 woo!
Difference 10%. But again, Donald Trump, the projected winner in Mississippi. Here's the map. Here's where it leads us. The road to 270. Donald Trump well out in front with 160. Kamala Harris now with 30.
Look at that. 160 to 30. He's almost there. This is like a sweep.
Sources inside the campaign. What are you hearing?
Greetings, everyone. It's good to see you. So what I am hearing is that Democrats writ large in all of the battleground states, and I've been talking to party chairs.
There's a CNNer for you. Look at her face.
The organizers on the ground.
Like she ready to cry already. I want to hear this song with Trump win. Happy days are here again. I hope so, man. I hope Donald Trump don't let everybody down, because boy, he got a lot of people believing in him. Happy days are here again. Happy days are here again.
In the Philadelphia area and Philadelphia suburbs. Well, the numbers coming out of places like Temple University, where the lines were so long, people were standing in lines for 3 hours.
Look at her. She's so upset she can't even hardly talk.
Add more voting machines. They were not expecting that, Democrats particularly in. They're encouraged, what I'm told, by the raw data, if it's on the raw data they're seeing. So they don't want to speak out of turn, but they feel all right.
Yeah, Simone, what is worrying the Harris camp right now?
Oh, the Harris camp is worried. Oh.
People to stay in line.
Oh.
I'm told that actually in Pennsylvania specifically, celebrities are FaceTiming in to the people who are in line, encouraging them to stay in line. So the organizers are out there with the phones saying, "Hey, so and so is on the line." There are concerts actually happening. They are looking at Pennsylvania very closely. And as the time that the vice president spent in the state, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I think is also indicative of where they see some gaps. Also,
hello. What's up, Brian?
In Georgia.
That's my name. Brian Rivera. How you doing, buddy?
Longer because of the bomb threats that were happening there and the evacuations that had to happen, encouraging people.
But watch out now. Trump winning. Watch out for this. Watch out for the shady stuff.
They feel like that they can eke it out if people.
That's good, Brian. I'm okay too. Trump's winning, man. You see that? 160 to 30.
Florida, and we just got the inside scoop from the Harris campaign. So we're hearing from the Trump campaign about what they're seeing in these battleground states in the early.
Kamala Harris is upset about something.
Savannah, the Trump campaign is very buoyed by what they've seen out of Wisconsin, specifically among black voters. They're pointing to our exit poll, which shows Donald Trump more than doubling his support among African Americans in Wisconsin.
Blacks for Trump. Blacks for Trump. That's right. We ain't no dummy.
blown out with African American voters in 2020. If they were able to move the percentage that they got well, 15, in this case, based on these early exit polls, getting 20% in Wisconsin. That's the kind of thing that could make
Kamala, you didn't cook enough collard greens to fool us.
20,000 votes in that state. They spend heavily on television. They spend heavily on African-American media, trying to find celebrities.
Obama, your little speech didn't do nothing but piss everybody off. You telling black guys, oh, I can't believe you're voting for Donald Trump and ain't voting for Kamala. Hell no.
All right, Garrett, thank you. I want to go over to Peter Alexander at Harris headquarters, Washington, D.C. And how's the feeling there? What's the vibe?
D.C., Kamala won D.C. That don't surprise me at all.
Particular data points that they can know if it's a good indication or not. The Harris campaign, individuals still watching behind closed doors, the vice president watching alongside.
Look at all those losers back there.
And other big supporters of the vice president at a hotel here in Washington, D.C. watching as well before they arrive.
Where's Glorilla at? That was a total disaster.
Some good indicators. One comes out of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, specifically as it relates to those 3 wards with the largest densities of Puerto Rican voters right now that they say.
I'm gonna take a break, guys. I'm gonna take a break from that. Trump is he's killing it.
In terms of turnout as they had 4 years ago, which is to say that they believe that they are exceeding the numbers.
Taking a break, guys. I'll wait till they show another winner. Trump, Indiana.
I am hearing again about those college campuses right now, everywhere from Nevada, UNLV, all the way to a series of separate campuses.
Trump won.
Philadelphia, South Temple.
Who won Alaska? Hey Google. Who won Alaska in the presidential election?
2024 U.S. presidential election results for Alaska. Results are expected around 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, okay, 1 a.m. Yeah, I haven't even seen their name come up. Trump won Kentucky. He won South Carolina. He won Florida. Trump is kicking butt. He won Louisiana. Look at that.
22% of the vote counted, but again, the margin expected to be rather large. So here's the map for those watching at home.
Woo!
South, of course, reliably red for Donald
He's
Trump.
all, look at that, 168 to 30. This ain't even close.
Tom over there talking the great state of Ohio, a former battleground.
Semi-battleground, right? We got exit poll data at Ohio as well.
Ain't gonna be no controversy on this one. 168 to 30. Look at all that red.
About 266,000 votes. I want you to remember that number. Write it down if you can. I know it's kind of a big number, 266,000. The reason why I want to highlight that difference because when we punch up Ohio here, so that's the spread, 287. It just changed. That's how much.
I can't believe Ohio.
Again, you know I love.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Earlier, Kamala was winning.
In the Democratic counties like Franklin, which is Columbus, Cuyahoga, Cleveland. Look at the numbers here. In Cuyahoga, look how many votes are still out. 377,000. She's on top by 71%. Let's see how she.
Yeah, she is winning.
4 years ago.
I can't believe she's winning Ohio. Ohio's more liberal than I thought.
There's still a lot of that vote that's out. Let's go down to Franklin County. It holds the capital of Ohio, Columbus. 68%. Overperforming there.
Donald Trump's kicking her buttocks.
And then again, 266,000 remaining.
Look at that.
Those 2 counties we're talking about.
168 to 30. That is a slaughter. I told the Democrats they should have left Joe Biden in there. Biden would have done better than Harris would. No, they tried to pull a fast one. They thought they was slick. Oh, we're gonna sneak Harris in. Biden's he ain't talking good.
Look at this neck and neck. The difference here only 74,000. So what does that mean? That means the Republican in this race is underperforming Trump. There could be a
Trump is killing it.
Way too early. 56% of the vote in. But look, the difference here is 74,000. Remember that number I was telling you? Remember it was over 200,000. So
this is history in the making.
Now, Bernie Moreno is underperforming the Republican candidate. The incumbent is still down, but again, remember what I told you. There's a lot of that vote that's out in Cleveland, in Columbus. I'm going to look in one more spot here. Let's get back to the president's race. In Hamilton County, which is Cincinnati, she's at 62%. Biden was at 57%. Again, look, this could be some of the early vote that's come in.
Why do they keep showing Biden? Just show her. Kind of confusing me.
Yeah, Tom, we got a projection in this.
Here we go, another.
Rhode Island NBC News projection.
Boo!
Harris will win in Rhode Island when all the votes are.
I can't believe that liberal. I never been in Rhode Island. That liberal state. That state's so small. You don't even remember. You forget about that state.
Harris, the projected winner there. Let's pull up the map. The road to 270. That brings Harris now to 34 electoral votes. Donald Trump still well out in front with 168.
Well out in front.
270 is the prize that we're working our way toward. We'll take a break here. It's 9:30 in the
Okay, we're gonna take a break, guys.
Standing by to make more projections just ahead.
Donald Trump's doing it. Yep. It's not as close as I thought it was. I mean, he's beating her worse than I thought he would. I thought it'd be closer than that. We might be hearing this old song tomorrow when Trump wins. Happy days are here again. Da, 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 da. I don't know the words. Da, 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 da. Happy days are here again. Try to entertain you guys. Hey Google. Who's winning? Who won Texas in the presidential election?
2024 U.S. presidential election results for Texas. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump won with 40 electoral votes and 54.2% of the vote.
Donald Trump's kicking butt. Donald Trump won Texas, Florida, South Carolina, Oklahoma. Man, he's killing her, man. I'm just waiting for Pennsylvania. They're gonna save that one. They're keeping the lid on that one. I think he won Indiana. Hey Google, who's winning New York in the presidential election?
2024 U.S. presidential election results for New York. According to the Associated Press, Kamala Harris won with 28 electoral votes and 68.6% of the vote.
Okay, she won New York. Okay. Okay. This is historic, guys. I think Donald Trump's gonna be the first president to won the election, lost, and then came back and won it again. I think. There we go. Let's see what we got. Virginia is too early to call. Who won Colorado? Too early. Those states are too early to call. Donald Trump's kicking her buttocks though. 168 to 34. Look at all that red. It's got almost a whole map. Votes are being counted in 6 battleground states. Trump is leading 29 million to her 26 million.
This is the predetermined map of how the states voted in 2020 and then the 7 battlegrounds that will.
There's Pennsylvania up there. Harris won Lackawanna County. Or should I say she's winning Lackawanna County. Pennsylvania is a huge state. Let me go with that what if stuff. What if
North
what?
Carolina, he flips Georgia back, he gets to 270. But if he can't win Pennsylvania, he has to win somewhere else in the blue wall. He has to break through the blue wall. That's the main difference between his path and the vice president's path. There's a path for her, even though she doesn't win any of these three big Midwest states. But for him, he has to win one of them. If he wins Michigan and he flips North Carolina, holds Georgia, he can win any of these two out west, either Nevada or Arizona, put him over the top. But if he can only win Wisconsin, I'm going to take Nevada away. He has to win Arizona to get to 272. So you can see it's going to be a long night for us, but every state sort of leads to a domino effect, if you will. And that's one of the reasons why we were watching Ohio, because if he were not to win a state like Ohio, which he won the last two presidential elections, his whole map. Back to you.
Well, right now, so far tonight, we
Ohio is always an important state.
But let's talk about Pennsylvania. There's a reason that the campaign spent more money there, spent more time there. It may well, at the end of this night, or perhaps it will be Saturday morning, like in 2020, it will all come down to Pennsylvania.
It very well could come down to Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, my home state.
Biggest battleground prize out there. And part of why we're watching states like Ohio so closely, like North Carolina as well,
I
particularly.
know who Clinton County voted for. They voted for Trump.
In those collar counties in Pennsylvania, Michael. Remember, President Biden won Pennsylvania not because he won the Philadelphia County area, but because he was able to really drive up the vote among white working class voters in those collar counties. One more point just to mention as we watch all of these returns come in. When President Biden was at the top of the ticket, a state like North Carolina was out of reach for Democrats. The fact that we're talking about it right now, the fact that there's been so much play in North Carolina, that former President Trump spent so much time there in recent days, underscores the fact that they have tried to open up more paths, and we'll have to see if that was effective.
I want to ask a little bit about Michigan. We haven't really talked much about the Gaza war in Gaza and how that might affect the vote, in Detroit and in parts of Michigan. Are we getting any read there at all?
Well, it's going to be something that matters, right? Because we saw that uncommitted vote. We know there's an Arab American population in largely Wayne County. It's only about 2% of the population, but it could be potentially significant here. You saw Vice President Harris as she was on the campaign trail.
Trump is killing it though. He's got.
Her rally speech. One of them.
He has
Of course, Israel, Gaza, what was happening. She doesn't typically start off her.
There you go.
Campaign speeches or
He got 168. She got 34.
Again and again.
He only needs 100 and.
She typically says something along the lines of, "You have a right to be heard, so do I," and I'm
Two more points.
But the other piece of this too, when you look at this, Michigan is a place. It's going to be critical for her, as Tom has just laid out in the map.
She needs damn near everything. she needs 270, and he's halfway there.
This ominous shadow hanging over America, and shifting away from saying his name at all, calling him the other guy, trying to make him seem small, unserious. Buster.
All right, we have another call to make. A big one. The state of New York, and not necessarily a surprise.
Kamala won New York.
Projects that New York Kamala Harris is the projected winner. I'll get this out. Projected winner in New York, and there you see the vote difference. 840.
She moved up.
33% in. Here's the map to show us where we are on that road.
She moved up a little bit.
Puts Donald Trump out front with 168. Harris with 62 now.
Let's continue this conversation.
Some damn liberals in New York.
Young voters, because this issue that you
That's where all the immigrants at.
Israel, this is a very potent issue with young voters, with the
Illegal immigrants. What I'm saying. That's where they all at in New York.
As by third-party groups in Michigan trying to bring up that kind of dissent that is going on. It's very interesting. In the primary, there was an uncommitted vote, sort of a protest vote against President Biden. 100,000 people voted.
Okay, guys, let me take a break for a minute.
The margin.
Let me take a break.
154,000. So this is a
Sorry about that. Let me take a break for a minute.
Absolutely. And with young voters right now, we just had Howie, you brought this up on the data wall a little bit ago. Trump is leading young voters. And again, that gender gap is playing out right here. It's large.
Got a 100-point lead on her.
39% going for Trump, 39% going for Harris. Women, 54% Harris, 44% Trump. He's continuing to close those margins. The other thing that's interesting.
Trump's leading 168 to 60.
Campus, University of Michigan. Back in 2016,
Kamala just won New York.
About 11,000 votes. On that campus, I actually anecdotally
168 to 62. Trump got 168. She got 62.
it could have made a difference. So what does that look like right now? Who does that mean did better on those campuses if we start to see those margins be eaten away at?
And this is going back in 2016.
I wonder who's what. Hey Google, who's winning Connecticut in the presidential election?
The criticism was she didn't spend enough time.
2024 U.S. presidential election results for Connecticut. According to the Associated Press, Kamala Harris won with 7 electoral votes and 57.1% of the vote.
Wow, she won Connecticut. Okay. Google's fast. They haven't even put it up on the screen yet. She's making her move right now.
Harris is on defense to a certain extent over her stance with Gaza and Israel, the Biden administration stance in Michigan, but then also losing some of the Jewish vote, for example, in Pennsylvania and Florida. We've heard about that anecdotally as well. It's about the bottom of the hour. We can do some race checks here. You mentioned Michigan. Well, let's put it up there. Let's see what we've got.
Here we go, Michigan.
The votes are being counted in Michigan, one of those key Midwest battlegrounds. It is too early to call. That's just about a little over
Too early to call.
Now you've got an eye on what we've got there. Arizona polls just closed a half hour ago. Way too early to call there. It may well be days before we're able to call that one. Wisconsin, another in the industrial Midwest, too early to call. Just starting to get the votes counted. Pennsylvania, stop me if you've heard it before. It may all come down to Pennsylvania, and it is too early to call, but we're about 30% of the vote there. North Carolina, also too early to call at this hour. And staying down south in the Sunbelt state of Georgia, which President Biden carried 4 years ago, and former President Trump badly wants to get back into that red column. That is too close to call at this hour. So here is the road to 2270. That is the magic number that a candidate needs to win the White House, and that is where we are in the early going at this hour.
I always wonder what it looks like from the other side, from the candidates when they're doing the same thing.
Zoe, come see Dad. Come here.
These numbers, trying to weed through them, trying to figure out where you can be optimistic. You know, when you don't have
Come here, get up here.
looking at you.
You want a fun fact? Fun fact alert? We love it. The last election was decided in 4 states by approximately 80,000 voters.
Come here.
You could fit those voters into Cowboy Stadium. Wow. That's what we're
You're
talking
over,
about.
girl. Let me tell you about that.
Okay, let's take a break.
Very mad at me. But that's the right number for the stadium. I tried.
Kamala's making a little move.
You said about the link. Yeah, I do. And this is a more broad look at the issues that voters say are important to them. If we're talking about some of these issues in these key battleground states, nationally, we saw something really interesting here, right? We saw consistently in public polling over the course of months, it's economy, inflation, cost of living that voters
Come on, sweetheart, get up here.
over and over again was the most important issue to them. But look at this electorate. From our exit polls that we're seeing now, and again, this could shift a little bit. These numbers could still change a bit as more waves of information come in. But look at what's number one. 34% of voters say the state of democracy is the most important issue to them. Put a little asterisk next to that. We're going to talk about that more in just a second. Second here, 31% of voters say the economy is the most important issue to them. That is typically what we would see in other elections. It's what we've seen in the past. I would also note that just because a candidate leads on the top issue doesn't mean that they would win the election. Abortion is right there at 14%. Immigration trailing at 11%. And why do I bring that up? That was key to former President Trump's close. When you look at the vote breaks for this, which just means who people supported when they said this was their top issue, on state of democracy, voters broke for Kamala Harris. So she leads on that issue. More people who said that democracy was their most important thing backed Kamala Harris than did Donald Trump. She is also leading on abortion as well. It's the flip when you look at economy and immigration. More people who said that the economy or immigration were their most important issue backed former President Trump. That is not altogether shocking, right? Those issues, economy, inflation, immigration, it largely tracks with what we have been seeing over the course of many months since Kamala Harris got into this race in public polling. But here's what's interesting. I'm going to walk back to the desk with you to talk through some of these democracy issues here. This is a funny question, state of democracy, because there are Republicans who believe that the state of democracy is an existential threat, largely because of the election fraud lies that Donald Trump talks about. There are Democrats who believe that the state of democracy
I don't know if I can.
is a threat because of former President Trump.
I don't know how much longer I can go, guys.
So this is a tricky one. It's not like it cuts obviously one way or the other. So there's some unpacking to do.
It's a broad thought, yeah. What is the state of democracy?
That's exactly
right. It would probably be better framed as what do you think the state of the country is? Do you think that this is a high-stakes election? Do you think it's a do or die? Is it existential? I think that's what people are responding to, and perhaps why we see that being.
Hey Google, what time is it?
It's 9:35 p.m.
I might have to do a part two. I'm gonna do this part one, sign off, and
Donald Trump make arguments that his political rivals were the quote-unquote enemy from within. And so it is a Rorschach test, and it also just speaks to why, as we watch these states continue, the battlegrounds seem to be very sharply divided, as our polls indicate.
Right track, wrong track always kind of leaves you with that question. Are we judging a president, or are we judging just the overall sense of life these days?
Absolutely, and the fact that you have this significant majority saying that the country's headed in the wrong direction.
You know what it is? It's interesting because we haven't talked that much about that thing that happened this summer where Joe Biden had a terrible debate and he was expected for 18 months to be the candidate and then he wasn't. Do we have any indication in any of these early numbers how Kamala Harris is performing compared to how he may have performed?
Yeah, I'm starting to get a little tired now. I might do part 2.
Favorable based in exit polls, which is a question that was asked. She is
I'll come back.
I want to say 48%, so she is.
I gotta go let my dog out and all this good stuff.
And Donald Trump were, but Savannah, I'm so glad you brought this up. We called Delaware like an hour ago, right? Joe Biden's home state.
If I leave, you guys come back for part 2. I maybe.
Like how different tonight would look if Joe Biden were still on the ticket. Vice President Harris has done this thing where she's tried to both distance herself from President Biden. She told me in our interview just
They keep saying Georgia is too close to call, but then they say Trump won Georgia.
But at the same time, she has not distanced herself in a super clear way from
Hey Google, who won Georgia in the presidential election?
2024 U.S. presidential election results for Georgia. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump leads with 52.4% of the vote. The Associated Press hasn't yet called this race.
So that's weird. They got him. I guess they just haven't made it official yet.
Joe Biden, she struggled to answer that in part, I'm told, because personally she did not want to betray him. But it
I see Take Two Studios. Yeah, we want Trump. You're right. We want Trump. Trump's winning. He's winning.
Yeah, that's right. That was
He is leading.
if I'm remembering that one correctly. In a poll side with her.
He's leading like big time.
Listen, typically Vice
Show you right quick.
Go after, their boss, if you will, their president. She talked about this issue of loyalty, but at the same time,
See, Trump got 168. She got 62.
Continuation of the Biden.
The problem that she had was when asked specifically, I believe on an ABC program, what would you do differently? She said nothing comes to mind.
He's almost there. The first one to 270 wins.
Well, right, but that's about, that question is coming when you have an unpopular incumbent. We want to go to NBC's Sam Brock. He's in Asheville, North Carolina, where I understand the counting is wrapping up. What are you hearing?
Savannah, it's done. Look, I have it fresh off the presses right here from Buncombe County. The official results are in. First of all, they had a 73.69% turnout, which is almost their record high. It was 78 back in 2020. But considering
Donald Trump won Alabama. Donald Trump won Arkansas.
And the results are almost exactly the same as they were 4 years ago as well. It was 60 to 38 in favor of Kamala Harris for this county, which is about 140,000 votes. It was 59-38 back in 2020. This was not, however, your grandmother's democracy process, being sort of a fly on the wall to watch all this happen. Walk with me here for a second. So these are the
Thank you. Take Two Studios. I appreciate you too. Thank you.
Across this entire table, I watched as the board went through line item by line item to authenticate it for the unofficial results. There's basically a caravan of cars that comes in. They're all holding from each of the 80 precincts these thick orange cases that have flash drives in them. Bobby, who I'm told has been here with both.
They're keeping a tight lid on Pennsylvania.
70-something-year-old woman takes the flash drive out, comes in here and brings it into this room. In the room,
Kamala Harris won D.C. That don't surprise me. And she won Maryland.
From this room, and then all the day of votes get tabulated over in these machines. Fascinating to watch. It is actually now done.
Those states are always liberal.
All right, Sam, thank you very much. Got a projection to tell you about the state of Illinois. Kamala Harris, as expected.
Uh-oh.
That's a Midwest poll.
Uh-oh.
Kamala Harris and the Democrats. Let's look at the
Kamala's moving up.
here. Half the vote in, and it looks like it will be an easy victory as expected. And so we can fill out one more state on our road to 270 map. The state of Illinois going to Kamala Harris. Let's go.
Kamala Harris won Illinois.
Where we just heard straight from the horse's mouth. The Buncombe
She's
County,
moving up.
Asheville has been through so much with Hurricane Helene, and Sam Brock has the poll results in his hot little hands.
But when you calling him a horse, that's like, I'm not sure if I'm worried. Sam's a tall drink of water.
That good.
So lines from what
I still see a lot of red over there.
those Hurricane Helene counties. We can show you the ones that were affected by the floods. Let me go. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. So these were all the counties, the 13 counties that were affected by the floods, where people could vote in other parts of the state if they weren't able to vote in their home county. It's interesting. I was going through the numbers. It doesn't look like there's any kind of drop-off there. That's actually better news for the president because there are more Trump voters out there in the western part of the state, with the exception of the blue dots like Asheville, places like that. Here's where a lot of the vote is still out. Charlotte, Mecklenburg. Look, Trump is on top right now statewide. Mecklenburg is the place where Democrats, I'm going to keep going back to Mecklenburg when we talk about North Carolina. This is Charlotte.
Take a break for a second.
They need to drive up the vote here. It's a majority minority county. Hispanics and African Americans, they have to drive up the numbers here. When they lose races like Senate races, it's because the turnout is not where it needs to be.
I'm gonna
But the good news is there is vote in other
I'm gonna leave and I'll probably be back.
You can see Kamala Harris slightly overperforming.
Look for part 2. I'm gonna have a label part 2. I gotta take a break. I've been here for a while.
Here we go.
I'll come back
Right over here,
with part 2. Maybe I don't know, in a few hours.
Slightly overperforming there, just over where UNC Chapel Hill is.
But right now, Trump is winning 168 to 81.
This is Governor Roy Cooper's county. This is where he's from. It's sandwiched between Raleigh, Wake County, and the North Carolina Black Belt, where you have those counties with high percentage of African American voters. It usually, almost always in the last few elections, has picked the winner. 2012 Obama, Trump flips it. Biden it went with Biden in 2020. That wasn't a correct pick. But today, Trump is on top, and you can see that's good news for him, considering that Biden took it in 2020. We're also watching New Hanover. This is Wilmington. You have a lot of people who have moved to the east coast of North Carolina, the coastal communities here. Only 5% in, but this is also one of those counties that has always picked the winner in North Carolina. Not enough vote in to even compare it. I do want to talk about the Triad. This is, again, sometimes the forgotten metro area, but huge population center for North Carolina. A lot of the historic black universities are here as well. Greensboro, Guilford County, 55% in. Let's see how she's doing compared to Biden. Look, she's holding her marks, so this is pretty good. I want to see how Trump's doing, though, in some of the rural counties where he has to drive up the vote. Robeson, look, only 22% in. He's overperforming there. I want to go a little closer to Charlotte. Union County seems to be doing okay. Again, this is along the southern border, right above South Carolina. Seems to be holding his own. Anson, 92% in. This is actually a big flip. Let me see what this looked like in 2016. So this is interesting. Clinton won in 2016. Biden won in 2020 with 92% of the vote in. Trump is on top right now. Again, not a large county. You're going to see there's only about 10,000.
We won't know who's going to win anyway until I don't know. I think they said Wednesday, so there's no way I can sit here that long anyway. It's gonna take a few days to count all these votes.
We saw the abortion measure go down to defeat in Florida. It had a 60% threshold in New York. It passes easily. 71% of the vote is the margin there. We'll go to Maryland. There was also an abortion rights measure, and that easily passes as well. Both of those blue states. I'll bring Laura Jarrett into this conversation because we do have 10 states that have these ballot measures, and obviously Democrats have hoped that would help their fortunes, and especially in these battleground states.
Hang on, Trump.
Obviously not a place where people think of abortion rights under threat, but the initiative there was broader than just about abortion. It had to do with anti-discrimination principles more generally.
I'll be back with part 2.
Part of that, but
maybe in a
pregnancy and the like, and so that's why it was even on the ballot.
few hours. We're gonna see what's going on with Pennsylvania and the rest of the states. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's very exciting. This is very exciting right here. Very important election. Historic.
One for, one against, and so we'll see how